In this video, I'm going to share with you the complete breakdown on my whiteboard here of the largest job I've ever done so far. It was the recent concrete job that I did at the grain bin. I've got a couple of videos talking about that more recently. I'm going to share everything and anything with you and be able to show what I walked away with at the end of this whole project. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So what was the gross number that I got for this concrete job where I did 36 dumpsters? The number for that is $9,810.19. This was a combination of actual concrete loads and then a few other types of additions to just regular dumpsters where I had some dump fees. So again, I'm going to break everything down, starting from the gross number, which is the highest number, and working our way down to my net profit after that, what this really looked like. So gross was just under $10,000. That's very exciting, except you've got to deduct quite a bit from that. So next on the list was 2 loads of dump fees, because on this concrete job, there were 2 loads where I was not able to dump for free, in which case I had to dump actually at the transfer station, which was just the worst case scenario, the highest amount of money to pay for that amount of weight of concrete. So the dump fees were, here we go, $494.19 right here. So gross number up above, dump fees just under $500. So from that, we then have the fuel that went into this. Now, this number I'm going to share with you here, this was as conservative as a number as I can, which means I'm erring on the side of caution, putting a bigger number out as far as what really went into this. So in actuality, it's probably less than this number by a little bit, but I'm just trying to be cautious and safe and give a legitimate number that would be realistic. So that number is $1,205.38. So $1,200 for fuel. So as you can see, we're adding it up pretty quick here. That number's dropping from the gross number there. So next, something I didn't share in those concrete videos that did happen, and I wasn't able to make a video about it, and it probably wasn't that interesting anyways, was I had my jack on my dump trailer, because the dump trailer did a couple loads. Well, the jack on the dump trailer is my hydraulic jack, and that actually got bent up because I had to dump at a certain place that didn't have a road. It was more of a path. And so the jack was too low, just as it was, as high up as it could be, and it got bent back. And so I had to have a mobile welder come out and fix that. So that cost was, for the jack to be fixed, was $300. So $300 just for getting the jack fixed. This is directly related to this project, so that's why I'm attaching this as a part of the cost, because this would not have happened if it wasn't for this job. I wouldn't have been at that dump site to dump that load of concrete with that dump trailer. So I'm assigning this. Some people might do that differently. This is what I'm doing. I'm accounting for all this that is directly related to this job, this overall number, the dump fees, the fuel, and then the jack was $300 right there. Next on this list to deduct from the gross number is the tow bill that I had due to my Ram 2012. The steering failed. I had to have it towed all the way back to Lafayette. I may or may not have needed that if it was under different circumstances. It was used on this job, so from this number, I believe it needs to be deducted. Somebody could choose to not deduct this and say, well, it would have happened no matter what. I think it would have been a much lower bill if it was in town, if the steering just failed on, a side street or something. I don't think it would have been as much as this was. So I'm going to include it in this calculation. Choose to if you would like to, if in your situation or not, but this is just where I'm at. So the tow bill for this ended up being $515.50 but I just heard word today from my insurance company, the roadside assistance that I have for my policy, is that they're going to be reimbursing me $370.50. So the difference on that is $145. So 145 there, boom. So again, this is being taken out of, after it's all settled up when they send me that check. It will have cost me $145 for this tow bill out of this gross number right there. So adding up all those different costs, we have a cost of goods of $2,144.57 right there. So everything right there that I just included would equate this number right here. After that, I'm going to have this as a separate line and not included in this cost of goods or cost of being able to operate and perform this job that made this amount of money. I'm going to include the repair bill underneath this. Again, there's a million different ways of how to separate things or include things. I'm just going to do this just because, in my opinion, the repairs on this truck was going to happen whether it was related to this job or another job. It was going to happen no matter what. There was not a incident that specifically happened that caused it. It was going to happen regardless. And so I believe this should not be included in this number. The repair for the Ram, if you can read my handwriting, that's an R. The repair for this was $1,256.70. So the repair, if you can even read that, $1,200 and some change. That was stuff that was going to be going out anyways, as well as the other parts that did fail because of the actual steering snapping out of nowhere. So I am not including this as a part of the regular cost as well, just saying that again. So what does this actually look like after all these expenses that have been deducted from the gross? So we've got the total number I was paid minus all these other transactions and things to be able to just perform the task. And then we had this repair that was just maybe included, maybe not, depending on how you want to do that. If the repair was not included, the number brought home would be $7,665.62. So that's with not the repair included. If you want to include this repair in what it took to be able to perform this overall number, the gross number for this project, the number would be down to $6,408.92. Again, forgive me for my handwriting, but from nearly 10 grand all the way over to about $6,400 brought home after all of these expenses that popped up during this project. Of course, with this, you could factor in a slew of other different factors: your wear and tear on the vehicle, the maintenance, the driver pay. I'm paying myself a flat percentage of my business, so I didn't have a driver pay line item here. There's going to be, of course, your insurance. You could do that per load. There's just a number of different things you could have put into this equation. And again, this number would just keep dropping lower and lower as you're deducting these things and accounting for everything under the sun. I'm not going to get too far into the weeds with this. You could, of course, do that. You could do that on a monthly basis. However you do that, continue doing that for you. This is the number that I'm going to largely go with roughly. I'm sure this number is even lower than this. Even if you did include the repairs over here for that $6,400, this is what this job really took for me to be able to accomplish it. I had to front a lot of this cash up front, constantly putting in fuel every day, putting in $100 a day just to see how long does it last. There were the first several loads where I was traveling further back to Lafayette because this was out of town. And then later on, I was able to dump just 30 miles away instead of almost 50 miles away. So there's definitely some differences that changed over time. But of course, it did total up to this $2,100 for the cost of goods, for the cost of the service, basically, to be able to perform this. And then, again, I consider the repairs to be an outside situation. So this is what can happen when you have unexpected repairs. you know, $1,200 in fuel, just like that, boom. No, easily being able to do this many loads. Again, 36 dumpsters that were ultimately more and more efficient as I went, as I found a better place to be able to dump. It was quicker, everything was faster, and just doing a number of loads. So even including the repairs in this equation to subtract that from my gross number, I know I was still profitable in this. I know it was still worth my time. I learned a lot in this job. I was able to make some strides in my efficiency, just with dropping and picking up, communicating with people, and really just getting this fine-tuned in doing this type of a job. So let me know what you think about this. Would you think this is worth it? With all the headache that I went through and I kind of shared with you in the last couple of videos, would this have been worth it to you? If you were paying another driver to do it, or if you just did it yourself, a one-man show. The great thing about this situation is that this is just another notch in my belt as far as learning how to navigate these types of business transactions, these types of situations that can get a little hairy with some repairs popping up, and being able to navigate things and to account for, well, what if you show up there and you have to wait for a while until they start loading you? Well, if you're getting paid by the load, which I was, you're just sitting on the clock, just hanging out for no reason. So there's things to be able to do to account for that type of situation. And I guess we can talk about it in a future video. Let me know if you'd like to, what I would do and what I've kind of already worked out with other people in the last couple bigger jobs that I've done. I would love to share that with you. If you're interested, please let me know in the comments. Hit the like button, subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Again, this is my biggest job that I've ever done in a single project. I know I have a roofer that's used me a number of times that probably overall, all the roofs we've done, for sure, has gone over this number by quite a bit. But this is my largest single project so far, and I can't wait to see what the future holds. So again, hit the like button, subscribe if you'd like to. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you have a great day today, guys. Stay safe, and God bless.